We're taking it to the streets, bicycling this spring. We've got everything you need to know about the Girls' Night Out. Plus, we're talking about the top concerns and goals of New Mexico's 50-plus generation. And we're cooking gluten-free chocolate muffins with personal chef Jan Laird. That's next on New Mexico Style. Good morning, I'm Kristen Van Dyke.
And I'm Michael Hunchaya, the face of Fox.
And this, of course, is New Mexico Style. Nikki running a little bit late, but she will be here in a few minutes, promise.
Yes, we're hoping.
Right. Of course, right now, happy Friday to everyone, of course, but we are talking about some serious stuff this morning. Yeah. Of course, that earthquake in Japan.
Yeah, everyone is actually talking about it right now. Actually, I woke up last night with my iPad with a little message from CNN saying, hey, big earthquake that just hit Japan, unfortunately.
Massive earthquake. It was an 8.9, the 7th largest in history, and we actually have some video of this. The Japanese parliament, where it hit several buildings, they collapsed, and we've already seen that confirmation. Earlier, it was 60 confirmed dead, but now that toll has risen to about 300, and I'm sure that will continue to climb.
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake that hit just before 3 in the afternoon Japan time, again, was the biggest that hit the region since record-keeping began in the late 1800s. The Japanese Prime Minister addressed the country.
Right. Japan is issuing an evacuation order to thousands of residents who live near a nuclear power plant after the quake caused problems with the plant's cooling system. The plant is about 170 miles northeast of Tokyo. A cabinet secretary says the plant was not leaking radiation.
And now the quake unleashed a tsunami that swept boats, cars, buildings, and tons of debris miles inland. One of Japan's newest airports in Sendai was engulfed by that tsunami.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. That's the coastal city of Sendai, where they said about 200 to 300 bodies have been found so far. It's probably over 300 at this time. Floodwaters, ramp, and surroundings runways are completely flooded with no sign of aircraft anywhere near the terminal building. The entire Pacific region, including the entire west coast of the U.S., is now under a tsunami warning, and the tsunami has hit Hawaii. Residents in coastal areas of Hawaii are being evacuated to refugee areas at community centers and schools, while tourists in Waikiki were moved to higher floors of their high-rise hotels.
Yeah, and then they've already received some hits from the tsunami. So far, the waves, the highest waves that have been reported in Hawaii have been about 3 feet. But a lot of times with tsunami, the first waves or the first series of waves that come through, they're not the highest. So they could get higher. I think we're looking at potentially 6 feet of waves, 6-foot high waves of potentially hitting Hawaii. And of course, they're going to be in danger for several hours. And, you know, they already had the earthquake. They've had some aftershocks, and that could persist over in Japan. That could create more tsunamis, and the aftershocks could be very strong earthquakes too, up to around 6-7 magnitude on the Richter scale.
That's amazing. Yeah, they said that there's tsunami warnings in all of Pacific coastal areas, including the U.S. and California.
That's right. The entire West Coast, for the first time in history, under a tsunami warning. What we're looking at for the West Coast, not as bad as what Hawaii will be dealing with, but we could see up along the northern coast, looking at anywhere from 3 to 7 feet high waves moving in, and that will be later on this morning, probably in the next half hour or so. They'll start to be impacted by this. And then San Francisco southward could be looking at waves as high as around 2 feet. And even though that doesn't sound like that's very high, it can still do damage and, of course, a lot of flooding, and can go pretty far inland. So the biggest thing to do is to make sure you get up and get inland and evacuate.
Right. Yeah, because you think, okay, a wave, a 3-foot wave, that's not a big deal, but the water level rises, which is amazing.
It is. It's not even like a normal wave that you would typically think of with a tsunami. I mean, you can have the huge waves that are up to 90 feet high, but what we're looking at here is more of a wall of water, kind of like a tidal surge of water moving in that will definitely could cause some flooding. And then the locations that will be mostly impacted by that, of course, will be the harbors and the bays where the sea level is a little bit lower.
Right, and we're lucky, I guess, here in the U.S. where we have hours of notification where we can prepare for this. So.
Yeah, that's a big difference between the earthquake. There's no signal an earthquake is coming, and so with a tsunami, thankfully, we have a good system in place. We have those buoys out in the Pacific that can measure how high the waves are, and of course you can get the word out and make sure that everybody's evacuated, so everyone should have plenty of time to get to safety.
Right, now you're a meteorologist, right? I mean, so how does that, the earthquake, if there's an earthquake in the ocean, does that cause waves on both sides? I mean,
it does. It causes it everywhere. So basically, along the seafloor, where you'll have an earthquake, the plates, the tectonic plates on the seafloor will shift. And once one gets pushed upward, that actually takes the mass of water and pushes it above sea level. And then that mass of water has to spread out in all directions. It travels over 100 miles per hour. And as it hits closer to land, the water becomes shallower, the wave becomes steeper, and then, of course, it rushes inland. And then sometimes it'll slow down as it rushes inland, but they will be moving in at 30 miles per hour. And, of course, there's no way you can outrun that. So definitely take advantage of the early notice and get inland and get up.
Good advice. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, maybe we should change topics. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's talk about Charlie Sheen. We've been talking about him all week.
Winning, yes.
Yeah, and things continue to escalate in the Charlie Sheen unraveling. Last night, police went to Sheen's home looking for guns, which he was barred from having. One antique gun was found.
Right. Attorneys for actor Charlie Sheen and his estranged wife say the former couple has reached an agreement that ends any custody issues and her pursuit of any lengthy restraining order.
Brooke Mueller obtained a temporary restraining order against Sheen earlier this month, claiming he threatened her on a recent trip to the Bahamas. A hearing had been scheduled for March 22nd.
Wow.
And you have some news, an update on Charlie Sheen.
Well, yeah, again, my iPad, which I love, by the way, just got some information that Charlie Sheen is claiming that all this bizarre talk and all these shows that he's done with Sheen's Corner and all these comments were all just acting.
So it's all a hoax.
It was just a hoax. He wanted to talk to the media and kind of see what effect he had on the media.
I don't know.
That's what I'm hearing.
He's a great actor, but he may have done too good of an acting job for me to believe that.
That was pretty good. Yeah, that was a little too good.
I don't know.
I know. It's hard to tell, actually. There is a video on there where he's claiming this, and it's hard to tell whether he's telling the truth or not. But
yeah, we'll have to see. And of course, last night, I'm sure you tuned in.
Yes, American Idol.
American Idol was on, and we had the first round of
eliminations for the top 13, right. And actually, it was Ashton Jones who was voted out, and there she is right there.
Yeah, she narrowly escaped elimination last week, but America kicked her to the curb this week on American Idol. The 24-year-old from Tennessee is the first finalist to go home. She sang Diana Ross's "When You Tell Me That You Love Me" the night before last. The actress says she regretted picking such an obscure song. Right.
Yeah, and you know what? She did not do a good job with that song, I have to say.
No.
Unfortunately, it was pretty flaky. The song wasn't really good. And, you know, I felt bad for her being one of the first top 13 to be kicked out.
Me too. And normally I'm not the one to tear up or cry, but I have to admit last night whenever they were saying goodbye to her, my eyes got a little misty. I mean, it is so sad. And I mean, it takes so much guts and just to get up and sing in front of everybody and to do that. And I know it probably has to be sad to go.
Right. And did you notice that Casey was not at the elimination?
I did. He's back in the hospital again. But he is still in the running. So he is not eliminated. He is still going to stick around, and hopefully we'll be hearing more from him.
That's true, yeah. We have to be careful, though, because he may be taken out, because that's the second time he's hospitalized during this contest. And unfortunately, he has an issue. He had a blood transfusion, 2 blood transfusions, and so the guy's going through a lot, but he's doing a great job. So.
He is, and I really don't want to see him go. I think he's one of the more talented guys on there.
Yeah. So for Idol, you could always tune into Casa Fox, obviously, to check out Idol Wednesday, when the top 12 will return to the stage. And so what is the weather situation, actually?
Yeah, of course, it's the weekend. Let's talk about the forecast. Not looking too bad for today. All right, temperatures this morning in the 30s and 40s, up to the north, already at 50, though, in Alamogordo and in Carlsbad. And those temperatures will continue to climb pretty quickly as we head through the rest of the morning. Highs today in the upper 80s down in the southeast. We're looking at highs in the low to mid 70s here, and up in the Four Corners, temperatures will climb into the low to mid 60s. So it is going to be a very warm one, and temperatures will stay above average as we head through the weekend. Of course, the weather will be pretty quiet here for the next couple of days. Winds will be picking up a little bit today out in the east. We do have red flag warnings in effect for the east central plains, and then winds will really start to increase across the entire east on Sunday as that next system approaches, and that could bring in some spotty snow up in the northern mountains. So again, we'll be looking at mostly sunny skies, dry conditions across most of the state, but those winds will become an issue really the second half of the weekend and into the early part of next week. Your 7-day forecast here showing dry weather with lots of sunshine, with highs today in the low to mid 70s, and then we're looking at highs in the upper 60s and low 70s as we head toward next week. Well, as spring approaches,